Welcome to a Wake and Bake session with your host, Girl Please 2.0. Where over here, we're no longer spilling the tea. We're spitting that shit out. We no longer tiptoe around people's feelings. We no longer worry about what Karen thinks. We no longer worry about what society thinks. Because society has chewed us up and spit us out. Left us on the curb, homeless and hungry and fighting for our lives. So we no longer give a shit. Over here, let's just spit some tea, shall we? Now, whether you drink sweet tea, hot tea, or herbal tea, you may need to add you a splash of something spiritual in your cup today, or your glass, or your candle holder, whatever you are drinking out of at this moment, darling. You need some spirits in there today, because this Wake and Bake session is going to have you needing a drink. Hey y'all, so I took the filter off. I just thought that was a funny little intro to my video, but I think snot just flew out my nose. Did y'all see that? I might have to go back and rewind it. I might have to edit that part out. Did y'all see that? It's that God dog. Anywho, see, I try to get professional on here. I didn't try to start this video 75 times because I'm judging myself so bad. And that's one thing about what this podcast is about. And I get fired up about it. That's why I try not to do these podcasts. I have an issue with lashing out at people. I have an issue with snapping back at people. And in my older age, I'm trying not to do that because I don't want to end up in jail. And I just can't handle the stress of fighting with these people back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So I have just kept my mouth shut. But I can't do that anymore, okay? This morning, I saw a video from Mama Tot, and it said that she was seeing her grief therapist in her did I say Greek therapist? Not speech therapist. And now I'm trying to say grief therapy. Let's smoke some flowers. Let me slow down. Did I say? I could not even stand myself. How the hell somebody go get on here and listen to me and I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about? God, get yourself together, girl. You getting on here acting just... Lord Jesus, help me. Where are the words? What I'm trying to say? Lord have mercy. Anywho, Mom Tot said that she saw her grief therapist and he told her that she needed to start speaking on her feelings. When she feels something, she needs to speak it. See, my problem is I don't have friends to speak to at any moment in time. You know, I mean, I know there's people going to... And this is another thing I feel like I have to explain myself every time I say this. Because there's going to be somebody out there that says, I'm your friend, you can call me anytime. That's probably so. But it's friends that I only talk to once a month or once every 6 months. And it's not just that daily connection or every other day or somebody that you actually see that you go and have lunch with. Somebody that's close, hey girl, can you go shopping? One of those friends. Now that we have to get that out of the way. I don't have somebody to just talk to like that. And I think I've just shut myself off from people because I have a lot of trauma in my life. And if I was going to sit and talk to somebody about it, like my therapist, I've been through therapy a lot in my life. And my therapist, every one of them have said, whew, that's a lot. Don't think that this is going to be an overnight thing. It's going to take you years because you have trauma after trauma after trauma after trauma. So I don't have years to sit around and just talk to a therapist and give them my tens of thousands of dollars that I don't have. So these days I sit by myself most of my time. 90% of my time is spent alone. My husband works nights, and so yeah. Anywho, I spend a lot of time in here because I'm talking I talk through my stuff in my head. But just because I'm talking through it with God or whatever Because Jesus will be up in here with me, girl. He's in here. But whether I be talking it through with him or the air, that's really not getting it out. And in this past month, it has been bipolar express up in here. Okay, my husband, he is he just set me down on the floor. I thought he was just to slap shit out of me and be like, I'm gonna need you to calm down. We riding bipolar express up here. He got a free ticket. Okay, I don't think he's liking that train ride though. But he sits me down and we talk it out. And every one of the things that comes out of my mouth is about my family. Every one of them. And my family does not even have anything to do with me. So I do not know how they are just wrecking all of my emotions all of the time. And I think it comes down to one basic thing. My entire life, my family, mainly my parents, have picked me apart. They have picked me to death. They have picked my life to shreds. They went after everything I had in my life. And now that I don't really have anything they want, I got kicked to the curb and left there. And it's an issue for me. The fact that I got pushed out of my own home with my 2 children when I was dating this guy that my parents didn't like. I had to leave that afternoon by 6 o'clock and find me somewhere else to live if I wanted to stay with him. And I chose to leave. And now that same guy has a baby with my oldest daughter. And they're moving close to my parents, is the last thing I heard. They have Christmases together. They buy the baby presents and their great-grandparents. And that bothers me. The last thing my mother said to me was on the day that my grandchild was born. And she told me I was the biggest disappointment of her life. Because I was following what my daughter asked me to do that day. And I didn't do it the way my mother wanted me to. Or my oldest daughter thought I should. And so my mother told me I was the biggest disappointment of her life. That was 2 years ago. This past Christmas, I was alone. Just got out of the hospital. Couldn't walk because I have multiple sclerosis. Called my daughter to see if she would, ask my parents could I come with them for Christmas so I could have family Christmas with everyone and didn't have to be by myself. And I was told no. I was told that they didn't want their family Christmas ruined. But they would wait, and after Christmas they would reach out and we could sit down and have a conversation. It's August and my phone still has not rang. That bothers me. Me losing my son to a drug addict bothers me. My parents taking me to court to take my other kids away from me while I was losing my son bothers me. It's like when I was trying to enjoy my kids when they were little,
my family wouldn't have anything to do with me, but they were steadily trying to take my kids away from me. I had 2 girls by a previous marriage. And even me telling this story, I already hear the voices in my head. Won't you tell the real story? There's multiple parts to all of this. So, and I will get to every one of them. I'm not hiding anything from anybody. So, that's just one thing. If I tell my story, somebody's going to bring up something else. And there's so many stories to my life that we'll get to all of them. We'll get to all of them. It's like when I post one podcast, somebody will say something about that I've left something out or whatever, and they start commenting all over my stuff, talking about how I'm trash and how I didn't tell. Blah, 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 blah. My stuff has always been put on public display by my family. And I think the reason they do that is because when they put me out on public display, it hides what they're doing. It puts what they did on the back burner. So while everybody was putting me on public display, Denise kept her mouth shut. And now all my stuff has been publicly displayed and I have nothing else to hide. But they do. And the reason I don't get on here and talk about it is because I have you see how I get riled up. I'm just very hyperactive. I am very overactive. I am very energetic. I am very emotional. I'm very. So, and I was raised in a toxic family with a dad that had a very bad anger problem, very bad temper. I was the spitting image of him growing up. So in my 20s and 30s, mainly, my late 20s, early 30s, I was single, went bar hopping a lot when my kids were at their dad's and whatever, and I fought a lot. So that in turn, I fought with my family a lot. And when I say fighting with my family, sometimes it was getting physical and it was scary. My kids watched it. That's another thing that bothers me. My dad was everything to me when I was growing up. But when I was growing up and we were in church, my dad was a deacon in the church and he taught Sunday school. And he would tell me every Sunday, why don't you come into my Sunday school class? Because I hated Sunday school. Because the woman that taught Sunday school was a hypocrite. All the people in the church was hypocrites. And I just couldn't understand why I was sitting in a Baptist church listening to all these people. But I see how you are when you walk outside the door. I just didn't like that. My daddy was the main one. He taught Sunday school. He was a deacon in the church. He even got up there and preached some sermons. I heard him. And he would say, why don't you want to come into my Sunday school class? And I'd always think to myself, you ain't fit to teach me about no Jesus when I see how you act behind the door. You crazy as hell. I love you, but I'm not listening to that. So it was just always a controversy in my mind about that stuff. My brother has always been treated differently than me. Always. And I don't get on here to talk about it because I will lash out. And then people say, oh, Denise, don't let them get to you. That's what they want to see. And I'm sure it is because they've always tried to, they always want to see me riled up. They always want to see me struggling. When I was married to a drug addict, trying to figure out how to get out of there with my son and alive, my family was taking me to court to take my other 2 kids away from me. So I couldn't deal with that I might die tonight at the hands of a drug addict, because I got to be prepared for court in the morning to go fight for my other 2 kids. Trying to keep my kids while I'm trying to get away from a drug addict and my family don't want me. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Nobody ever let me figure out things on my own. When I was married to my first husband, we fought all the time. All the time. And anytime I would go to my mom to talk about it, you know, as a friend or an advisor, all she would tell me is, oh, you don't need to deal with that. Pack the kid up and come home. Just pack up and come home. So what did I do? I'd pack the shit up and go to my mama's. I'd leave him. Every other week I was leaving. I'm packing the kids up and leave. Packing the kids up and leave. I'm moving with my mama. Move back home. Move back there. And it was always because my parents were like, just come home. Just come home. Just come home. Because they could control me there. They could control me when I was not there. And instead of giving me advice about tough it out and marriages are hard, work on your marriage, instead of giving me those tips, it was always run and cause a drama scene, cause all this stuff. It was never work it out. And that's funny that I'm talking this out now. See how this is therapy? Because they do the family the same way. It's never... if you're having turmoil in something, it's never sit down and work it out. It's always, you do this. If they did that to you, you do this to them. And that's how I've been raised. It's ridiculous how broken and toxic my family is. They have broken in my house before when I was with that drug addict. Stole a bunch of stuff out of my house. And then he made me file charges on them. They went to jail and then blamed it on me. You broke in my house. And then see, when I'm getting on here telling my stories like this, my own daughter has asked me not to say stuff because if I tell my stories, if my parents hear it, they call her and say, why did it, blah, 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 I can't stand it. And I'm not bashing them. I'm telling the story of what happened to me. And it has nothing to do with my daughter. But yet I walk on eggshells talking about my story because of what they're going to do to her. And it has nothing to do with her. It's everything to do with me. So I'm supposed to just keep my mouth shut and just deal with it on my own. Let them, bash me and tell the stories that they have told all over those little towns about me. And back then I couldn't say anything because I was a kid. Can't go against your parents. Can't go against the deacon in the church. Community face. Everybody knows him. When I was growing up, my papa owned every bar in the county. He owned a lot of farmland. He's a big time farmer. Real businessman. I always think I got my morals from my mama. My business sense from my papa. That man couldn't even read or write. And he was running all the bars in the county. Honey, come on. Had him some girlfriends on the side. And built him a big old brick house. And had brand new vehicles and whatever. And my family down here struggling. Why you can't take some pointers from your daddy? I don't understand why they didn't do better. I was never taught about college. My parents didn't talk to me about no college. I signed up for it, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't try to push myself in school. I had C average, and I kept that just so I could stay on the cheerleading squad. So I could show my butt, my uniform, because everybody knows back then I was a floozy. All my friends were floozies. We were all hookers. Every one of us. Well, not hookers, because we sure didn't get paid for it. People just giving it out left and right. But no matter what I did, I was always judged, picked apart, torn apart, put up on the stand, went just all the time. I was fighting for my kids. I was fighting for my life. I was trying to figure out how to make it through my life without looking over my shoulder every 5 minutes. If I did this with my kid, this person didn't like it. If I did that with this kid, this person didn't like it. So I had these people trying to take my son. I had these people trying to take my other 2 kids. And here I am just trying to live in life. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not a nothing. I go to work. I come home. I take care of my kids. But yet every time I look up, when I was a single mama, every time I look up, there was knocks on my door. DHS, Department of Human Services. Them people call on the phone. My house would be dirty. It's not like nasty by no means, but dirty, just kids' toys or whatever. I'd be so freaked out. Those people call and say they'd be there in 15 minutes. I was throwing shit in the dishwasher that didn't belong there and sticking stuff up in the ceiling. Just stuff like dirty dishes and whatever. And so that's why I judge myself. If I would say one thing on, if I put one post on Facebook, I was judged about it. I remember one time when I was a single mama, I lived beside my mom and dad. And when my kids would go to their dads on the weekend, the few little years that they did that, I would go out with my friends. And I loved Fireball. Fireball was my best friend. And I had just moved, it wasn't had just moved. I'd moved in beside my parents a couple of months prior to this. And I'd bought a new vehicle and whatever. And I went out one night, and the next day, I was sleeping late. Well, my mama is so nosy, and I was in my 30s at this time. She goes through my vehicle that I'm paying for. She has no business in my vehicle. And she finds a full, unopened bottle of Jack Daniels that I do not drink, and a positive pregnancy test in my truck. My kids are like 12 and 5 and 6 at this time. She busts up in my house, throws the shit at me while I'm asleep, and asks me, what the hell is this? I didn't understand what she was talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, I just found this in your vehicle. I said, okay, why are you in my vehicle? First off, I couldn't ask her no questions. I was to answer what all this was. First off, that's an unopened bottle of, so at 30-something years old, 32, 33 years old, I'm having to explain myself to my mother. The unopened bottle of Jack Daniels was a friend of mine that he left in there. The positive pregnancy test is my 6-year-old's from when I moved. It was in my console, and I just had never gotten it out of there since we moved here. Do you see a baby here? I have a lot. That's not even half of my shit that I carry around. So those are the feelings that I'm feeling today. Maybe I will keep turning those into podcasts. I mean, I need to. I don't know. Maybe if people want to hear that shit, I don't know. But yeah, that's some of my life in a little podcast. So if y'all got questions or comments or want to know something else, because this was choppy and I told a lot of stuff, if there's a particular story y'all want to hear, let me know. We'll spit it out. Maybe that will get me talking about stuff, that I'm skipping around on. So, yeah. Post your comments below and we'll keep on talking about it. Thanks. Bye.